Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into something quite fascinating, looking at sources that explore, well, a really counterintuitive idea in leadership. It's this blueprint for creating movements that last, that sustain themselves, precisely by letting go of control.
Yeah, and that tension, it's right at the heart of it all. I mean, you look
hmm
across the board, nonprofits, mission groups, even like innovation teams inside companies, they all hit this wall.
Right.
Why do some initiatives just take off and multiply after the founders leave, while others, they just sort of fade, even with tons of support poured in?
Yeah, despite years of investment.
Exactly. And the sources we're digging into today, they're pretty clear. It's not about the money, usually. It's not about charisma. It's about the willingness or unwillingness to actually release control.
That frames it perfectly.
Yeah.
So our mission here is to give you, our listener, a kind of shortcut to understanding both the theological why behind this and the practical how, what the sources call this plant, grow, release rhythm.
It's a practical roadmap.
It really is. The aim is moving beyond that state of constant dependency towards, well, real indigenous multiplication.
Okay.
So let's kick off with the problem itself. The sources label it mission dependency. It sounds kind of clinical, but it's this hidden barrier, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely insidious. It happens when the people who started it, or the outside funders, they just keep hold of all the key stuff.
Yeah.
The leadership roles, the big decisions, the money,
Mhm.
and the result. The local leaders, they never get truly tested, never really grow into their full capacity. The whole thing stays, well, underdeveloped. It just can't stand on its own without that constant drip of external help.
It's like propping something up forever instead of helping it build its own foundation.
Exactly. So if that's the barrier, we kind of have to look underneath it. Why do leaders hang on so tight?
Yeah, what's the psychology?
Well, fear comes up a lot. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes it's legitimate, right? You worry that the new leaders might drift theologically or maybe, mismanage the funds. That's a real concern.
Sure, you don't want things to go off the rails,
Yeah.
but it's often more personal than just risk management, isn't it?
Definitely. Control gets tangled up with like status and prestige.
Right?
If you're the founder, the one who knows how everything works, the one holding the purse strings,
Mhm.
relinquishing that, it can feel like losing your influence, maybe even part of your identity.
Yeah, like who am I if I'm not running this?
Exactly. And then there's the sheer weight of investment. You pour years, maybe your whole life into something.
That sunk cost fallacy.
It hits hard. Letting go feels incredibly costly emotionally, like abandoning your baby, even if that baby is ready to walk on its own.
So to break free from that, the sources really push us towards a theological grounding for this release. The core idea seems to be imitation.
Yes, exactly. Imitating the model Christ set. Incarnation. He didn't, run the mission from heaven via emails. He came into a specific culture, learned the language, lived among the people, and then this is key. He entrusted the whole future of the movement to, well, pretty ordinary, flawed people. That's the ultimate act of letting go from the start.
And flowing from that is this concept of kenosis, Christ's self-emptying. It's not just about changing the org chart, it's an internal posture, isn't it?
It has to be. It's about leaders consciously yielding authority, not for their own sake, but for the sake of the work itself. If you hold on because you need to be in control, you're actually strangling the potential for growth.
It completely reframes the leader's role, from owner to steward.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which connects directly to Paul's instruction to Timothy, that famous line, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. That's the multiplication gene right there.
Okay.
You plant, you water, you nurture, but you have to trust God for the growth. Like Paul says in 1 Corinthians, you can't be the growth. Trying to control it all actually prevents it.
Okay, so with that theological foundation in place, let's shift to the practical playbook. Phase 1, planting intentionally. And the sources make a really stark contrast here.
Yeah, between the greenhouse approach and the seed approach.
Explain that difference.
Well, the greenhouse is what you often see. You basically bring your fully formed model from back home, your structure, your service style, your rule book, and expect it to just work in a totally different context, like transplanting a hothouse flower into a field.
And when the external support, the greenhouse, gets removed.
The whole thing often just wilts because it wasn't truly theirs. It never took root in the local soil.
So the seed approach is the alternative.
Right. It starts with listening. Deep cultural listening, building real relationships. You share the core message, yes, but in ways that make sense locally, using their idioms, their music, their ways of gathering.
And the warning here is don't rush the structure.
Exactly. Don't impose heavy foreign programs or complex bylaws too early. Those imported systems can actually crush the fragile local shoot before it even gets going. You want multiplication of the core message, not just replication of your program.
Okay, that makes sense. Which leads us naturally into phase two, cultivation through apprenticeship. That sounds like a big mindset shift for the external partner.
Huge. You have to move from being the manager, the overseer, which keeps people dependent, to becoming a mentor, a coach, someone who builds competence in others.
And the practical tool for this. The sources mention this 2.2 apprenticeship model. How does that work on the ground?
It's designed for simplicity and reproducibility, basically. One leader trains two people, and crucially, those two are immediately expected to start training two others.
So it's built for multiplication from the start.
Right, and the beauty is, it avoids that top-down lecture style. The focus is all practical. How to pray effectively, how to tell scripture stories meaningfully,
Yeah.
how to offer basic pastoral care. It's about doing, not just knowing. Competency, not curriculum.
Learning by doing with a coach. Okay, so if you're doing this apprenticeship, how do you know when someone is actually ready? You need more than a gut feeling.
Right.
That's where these competency gates come in.
Absolutely. You need clear, observable markers. Gut feelings are too subjective. The sources suggest tracking progress in key areas, like spiritual formation. Is their character maturing? Pastoral care. Can they actually shepherd people? Teaching, are they handling the core message accurately and communicating it well?
And the fourth one,
Reproduction. This is critical. Have they proven they can train others using the same 2.2 model? That shows the multiplication engine is working.
and achieving this means the original leader, the external partner, has to make that really difficult shift from being the main actor.
To being the accompanier, the coach on the sidelines.
That requires a lot of humility, doesn't it? Stepping back.
Immense vulnerability. It means letting the local leader try, maybe even stumble a bit, while you resist the urge to jump in and fix it. You coach, you guide, but you don't take back the reins.
The challenge is admitting you're not indispensable anymore.
Which brings us right to phase 3, the courageous act of release.
Right. And the goal here, the sign of maturity, is achieving the three selves.
Self-governing, self-supporting, and self-propagating. That's the destination.
It's like the gardener's paradox the sources talk about. Your greatest success as a leader isn't the size of your garden, but the ability of the plants you nurtured to spread and create new gardens you didn't even plan.
Beautifully put. And this is where the rubber really meets the road, especially with governance and money.
Yeah.
Letting go of control here is profound.
Let's talk money first. External funds, how should they work?
The mantra is seed, not subsidy. Outside money should be catalytic. It should be time-bound, specifically linked to achieving agreed-upon milestones.
Not just perpetual operational funding.
Definitely not. If external money becomes the default source for salaries or basic running costs, you haven't built independence, you've locked in dependency.
Okay, but what about really impoverished areas? Is it fair to push for local giving right away? Isn't that a huge burden?
That's a really important question, and the sources address it head-on. The push for local contribution, right from the start, isn't primarily about the amount of money. It's about ownership and dignity.
The principle of it.
Exactly. Even small symbolic giving changes the dynamic. People shift from being passive recipients to being active co-owners. It fosters dignity. But critically, that initial seed funding must come with a clear taper schedule, a plan agreed upon from day one for how external support will decrease to zero over a set period.
Forcing the issue of local sustainability.
It has to. And to manage all this, the emotions, the finances, the timeline, the sources, recommend a specific tool, the one-page release covenant. Why is putting it in writing so vital?
Keeps everyone honest.
Pretty much. Verbal agreements, especially cross-culturally, can get fuzzy, misinterpreted. A written covenant, drafted at the beginning of the partnership before the emotional pressure builds. It's a public promise.
What goes in it?
The essentials. The timeline for release, the specific competency gates that need to be passed, and that detailed financial taper schedule. Making it public also shifts the expectation. It signals that eventual independence is the plan, not an afterthought.
Okay, so let's say the release happens. We've followed the steps. How do we, as the one stepping back, measure success if we're not, overseeing things anymore? What are the key metrics?
Success isn't about what you oversee. It's about what multiplies after you're gone. Quantitatively, two main things to track. First, the leadership multiplier rate, or LMR.
Okay, what's that?
It's simple. How many leaders are being trained who then go on to successfully train others? If that number, that rate, is less than 1, you're just replacing people you're maintaining, not multiplying.
Got it. And the second metric?
The local income ratio, LIR. What percentage of the total budget is coming from local sources?
Tracking that path to self-support.
Exactly. If that percentage isn't steadily climbing towards 100%, then genuine local ownership is still shaky. But numbers aren't the whole story.
Right, the qualitative side.
You look for the softer signs. Is worship genuinely contextualized? Does the community deeply trust and rely on the local leaders? Are there stories, real stories, of lives being changed, of the community being served in ways that they initiated? That's powerful evidence.
And finally, the actual act of release. The sources say it shouldn't be like sneaking out the back door.
No, it needs to be formal, covenantal, public, liturgical.
What does that look like?
It means a real ceremony. The new local leaders should be commissioned publicly with prayer, maybe a symbolic handover, passing the ledger, or a key. The community needs to witness this transfer of authority.
It validates the local leadership.
And it formally shifts the founder's role. You're no longer the director. You become an honored elder, a catalyst, maybe a grandparent figure. It's a moment of public surrender and affirmation.
So we've walked through the whole rhythm. Plant faithfully, grow wisely, release boldly. The core message seems undeniable. Your real legacy isn't what you build and manage.
But what continues to flourish and multiply in local hands long after you've stepped away?
Yeah, what takes root and spreads on its own.
And maybe here's the final thought for you, the listener, to wrestle with. That shadow of control, that fear we talked about right at the start, it probably won't just evaporate.
It lingers.
It does. Real freedom, whether you're leading a ministry, a business, or even a family project, comes when you intentionally embrace the risk, the theological risk of truly letting go, trusting the Spirit to work through hands you didn't personally choose or micromanage.
That's a challenging thought. It's about trusting something bigger than your own plans.
It is. It's the difference between trying to build a monument to yourself and becoming the spark that ignites a whole forest.
Becoming the catalyst for a forest, not just the keeper of a single tree. Powerful stuff. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.